I'm hoping to ask you to clarify more about what's happening with religious groups, because I think I heard you say that you can have small gatherings outdoors before April, but not until April will people be allowed to have indoor religious services. If you could just clarify what the timeline is.
Yeah, so we are working with Rabbi Dome has a panel, if you will, of different faith leaders who have been so helpful. It's like each of the other sectors that we worked in. So with sport, we had Via Sport and representatives from different sports to help us develop the guidelines for how we can have sport reopening. And that's coming as well in April. So there's 3 things that we are looking at in the last couple of weeks through this process with Dr. Dome. One is about outdoor services. And so we have come up with some guidelines for outdoor services, and we'll be looking at putting a class variance, it's called, in the next couple of days, that with the guidelines for how safe outdoor services can be held for religious groups who want to do that. And let me make this very clear, and I've heard this from many faith leaders, that they understand that we're still in a very precarious situation, and some communities absolutely are not yet ready to have in-person services. And some communities, it can be done perfectly safely. So these are the things that we are putting in place with their advice. The second one is around the important holidays. So we know that for Christians, Easter, and for people of the Jewish faith, that Passover are 2 very important holidays that are coming up at the end of this month. So we have been consulting through this process to see how we can have some limited in-person gatherings for those very important celebrations, and do that safely. And again, it will depend. I've heard from the leaders in those communities that some churches or synagogues are finding other ways to have those services, but for some it will be very important to have some limited indoor access for those important celebrations, and we're looking at how we can do that, and we'll have guidance on that, I'm hoping, early next week for people. And then finally, we're using the process to help understand how we can have a phased, safe reopening to in-person religious services across the board over the next few months. And the target for that, based on the advice that we'll be getting in the next few weeks, I'm hopeful that we're looking at sometime in the middle of April. So those are all flexible, depending on the advice that I'm giving about what are the important things that we need to take into consideration. Then, of course, from the public health perspective, how much transmission we're seeing in what communities, and our public health resources to be able to manage and work on outbreaks and clusters, and the case and contact tracing that's so important. So those will all drive how we can do this over the next few months.